Okay, so I finally got to see Jurassic World over the weekend, something I've been really pumped about, and I'm going to give you my review on it. This is my first video review, so just kind of bear with me if I rant. I'm sorry if I go off on tangents, I apologize. There are going to be spoilers in this. I'm not going to give away the entire plot of the movie, or I'm not going to break it down into each step-by-step scene of what happens, but if you don't want the spoilers, then don't watch it. If you haven't seen it, then go see it. This takes place 22 years, I think, after the first movie, and a lot of reviews that I've read before I saw the movie were really good, so my hopes were really high for it, and I loved it. It was a great movie. Other reviews that I've read and other reviews that I've watched on YouTube, people were complaining about it, saying, well, it's nothing like the first movie. Okay, nothing is gonna top the first movie. The original Jurassic Park is the best. Okay, nothing's gonna top it. Jurassic World wasn't bad. It was great. It felt and moved a lot like the first one, which is what I was hoping for. The Lost World sucked. I'm sorry, it was horrible. Jurassic Park 3, I liked it for what it was. If you haven't read the books, Jurassic Park 3 added everything that pretty much wasn't shown in the first movie from the first book. You know what I mean? Like the scene where they go into the aviary with the pterodactyls, that was in the first book. Dr. Grant and the two kids go into that from the first book. Also, pieces were taken from the second book. The Lost World book, the book of the Lost World, was 100 times better than the movie. The movie was just, it was terrible. Most of the Jurassic Park 3 was mostly taken from elements from the first and second book that wasn't shown in the movies, if you get what I'm saying. Jurassic World starts out, these two little kids, their parents pay for them to go see their aunt, which their aunt is like the head supervisor of Jurassic World. They go there to see the park, and of course, stuff happens. They create a hybrid dinosaur to gain more tourists. Well, it escapes. Chris Pratt's character, I think Owen Grady was his name, he is pretty much like the dinosaur handler and an expert. He tames the raptors, which was kind of cool to see this in this movie, that the raptors weren't necessarily the big threat. You know, like the first movie focused on the raptors being the enemy. Oh, also with the T-Rex, which also, by the way, the T-Rex from the first movie is back in this one. Spoiler alert. She's aged a little bit, but there's a big scene at the end where she fights the Indominus Rex, which is the hybrid that they've created that they're trying to take down. I had a lot of fun with this movie. I was really hoping that they played the original theme in this movie, because I remember like the previews for Jurassic World, it would show like, or it would play the John Williams theme, but it was like that creepy piano shit, and I liked it, but I wanted this movie to play the original theme, and it did, and it worked. A review that I watched, the dude was complaining, saying how when they played the opening theme, or the Jurassic Park theme, that it doesn't fit with the scene in the movie. It kind of does. I'm not going to hum the theme or anything, you should know how it goes, but when it plays it in the movie, it's the two little kids, they get to their hotel room, and he runs through the room, and he opens up the two sliding glass doors to go out to the balcony, and it kind of, the big part of the theme cuts in, because it zooms in on all of the park and everything around it, and it worked. If you've seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about. Basically, what gets the movie going is the two kids are in a gyrosphere, which is, it's like a clear ball that's taking them around all the dinosaurs and moving around on this field, and they can drive it themselves. When they realize that the Indominus Rex has escaped, they evacuate, they close down the park and get everybody back into like the main section of the park where like the shops and shit are. But the kid's older brother says, no, let's not go back, let's keep going. So they keep going, and they go into the restricted area, like where this fence is torn up, and I'm trying to remember this in my head as I'm going, so sorry. and pretty much they get lost, like the two little kids from the first movie. So Chris Pratt's character and Bryce Dallas Howard's character try to go find them because those are her nephews, so she kind of feels responsible. Pretty much, they don't find them at first, so Chris Pratt has to track them, and they eventually do find them. Also, there wasn't a lot of slow-moving parts of this movie. Like the movie starts out, I mean, it goes. It doesn't. There's not a part where I felt bored. You know what I mean? And the only character to come back from this movie, from the original movies, was Henry Wu. If you remember him, he was the dinosaur geneticist from the first movie, who told Dr. Grant that he bred raptors and that he made all the dinosaurs female, which is impossible. He's back. There are scenes in the movie, actually in one of the opening sequences, where the two kids are getting on the boat to go to the island. There's a woman reading a book with, it's actually Dr. Malcolm's book, if you remember him, Jeff Goldblum's character. He was the one who said that you can't do this, it's impossible, pretty much explaining the chaos theory and telling them what you've done is a mistake. And that's all it really shows him. Now the two kids, however, when they're lost in the park in Jurassic World, they do stumble in to the visitor center from the first movie. If you remember that, that's where the two little kids, what were their names? Tim and Lex from the first movie. When they stumble into the visitor center and there's the whole raptors in the kitchen scene, they go into that building, and you can tell that building's old, but you can see the banner. They pick up the banner that fell on the T-Rex at the end of Jurassic Park. So I thought that was kind of cool to see that. And they do rig one of the Jeeps from Jurassic Park. They managed to get it running, and they drive it back to the mainland where everybody else is. So that was kind of cool. One of the control room characters, he's like the Dennis Nedry, only not a douchebag like Dennis Nedry was in the first movie. He's I don't even remember what his name was. Lowry, that was his name. He's wearing a Jurassic Park t-shirt. There's a lot of little things from the first movie in there that kind of can remind you of what happened, and that was kind of cool. A lot of other people complained, saying that Dr. Grant doesn't come back and that they were disappointed. I'm not really disappointed that I didn't see any of the original characters. There was really no need for them to come back. I mean, unless the writers and directors would have found a logical reason for them to come back to this movie. I mean, he was in Jurassic Park 3. That's twice now he's had to escape dinosaurs. Jeff Goldblum was in the other island on the Lost World, so there's really no need for any of them to come back. Even in Jurassic Park 3, Ellie Sattler had a family and a child, so she doesn't need to come back. The two kids, they're not going to come back. Hammond is dead, which actually he's got a statue of himself in Jurassic World in like the main building. There's also the little DNA guy, Mr. DNA. He's back at one point. You gotta really look for him, but he's there in a scene. But yeah, I love the movie. Do we need a sequel for this movie? Probably not. I didn't see it in 3D, but you can tell what's CGI and what's not. The raptors that Chris Pratt's character tames, they didn't look as good as the raptors from the first movie, but it still worked. It was fine. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Don't go into it thinking that it's going to be better or that it's going to top the first movie, because it's not. But it feels like the better sequel to Jurassic Park than The Lost World and Jurassic Park 3 did. So I'd give it 4 out of 5 stars. I'm definitely going to buy it when it comes out on Blu-ray. And there are parts in this movie that I watched that you don't really get emotional. You kind of get that feeling like you feel for what's happening, and it brings you back to the original movie, if you know what I mean. Like, you're going to watch it and you're going to be like, okay. this is kind of cool. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with it.